Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest, you know him very well. He is Canada's top-ranked Open IFBB Pro League bodybuilder. Please welcome Iain Valliere. How are you, Iain?
Good. Thanks for having me, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here.
So I looked in the last interview we did one of these May 28th, so it's been over a year now. Wow, time flies.
Wow. Yeah.
So, man, I want to begin by recapping your 2019 season, which was pretty damn good. 2018, of course, you had a win, the Big Man Weekend, but 2019 wasn't too shabby either.
Not bad. No.
Hmm?
I said not bad. No.
Oh, I was going to say maybe I got the year wrong because I've done that before. So, season last year started off in Toronto, pretty close to home. Very, very close second place to Jonathan De La Rosa. Probably a couple. Did you ever see the score sheets? That had to be like a few points.
I think he won with a decisive 5, which I mean, I think he earned that win for sure. I mean, I wasn't my best at that show, but I mean, it was a good showing.
I mean, you look pretty damn good there. Vancouver, I wasn't there. You took 4th. Portugal, obviously, I wasn't there. 3rd place. And when I saw the winner at the Olympia, I was like,
Don't get me started on that one yet.
Yeah, I don't want to start it. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody myself either. But yeah, that was an odd showing. But let's you capped off the season in Tampa, which would have been another win for you, except Dexter Jackson decided, I think I'll do that Tampa show before I retire.
No, Luke was there. Luke came second.
Second. And then Luke needed some points for the Olympia.
Yeah.
So he jumped in the show, but you were a very, very strong 3rd place there.
Yeah, if Dexter hadn't been there, I would have qualified for the Olympia.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what was the point? I forget how the points went, but
I missed my point.
You lost. You needed like one more point.
Literally one.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. Did Luke get the points for the Olympia?
Akeem mentioned it.
Okay. Yeah, Akeem was like
done shows earlier in the season, and he was kind of sitting on those points. And then it was Lucas Osladil and Luke and me who kept competing throughout the year. We got a bit more points, and then we were all going to pass Luke. So then Luke jumped in Tampa, and then he held his lead over me in points, and then I was 1 below Akeem. So if I had got that extra placing, I would have been with Akeem there.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to go back after this whole quarantine. We don't need to talk about it at length, but I wonder if we'll ever go back to the old ways where you win any show, you qualify, which is fair, and I think it was top 5 for the Olympia. I think it was like top 3 for every other show at one point.
Yeah, there were some shows that were 3s, yeah.
But we didn't have 30 pro shows a year back then either, so that might lead to a very crowded Mr. Olympia stage. But yeah, Tampa, you looked really good. So you knew at that point there was no more shows. There were no more shows before the Olympia. So is that when you shut down the competition plans and the diets and everything for 2019?
To be honest, going into Tampa, I knew that a lot of things had to go very right for me and very wrong for some other people for me to qualify for that Olympia. I mean, I knew that Dexter was going to be there. I knew Luke was going to be there. And I also knew Lucas Osladil was going to be there, who was ahead of me in points. So I knew like the amount of scenarios that would have had to happen, with like Dexter placing lower than Luke, and then Luke, winning the show, and Lucas Osladil placing out of the top 6. And like, it would have been so many contingencies that would have had to happen for me to qualify. So it wasn't really about qualifying, if I'll be 100% honest. It was really more of, after that Portugal show, I really had a fucking sour taste in my mouth. It wasn't a great showing. The judging was a little iffy, as we just said. And I just really didn't want to hang my season up after that show. I would have had a serious feeling of unrest, doing that show and then hanging out for the season and going into an off season. I felt like I just needed kind of one last, I don't want to say like last hurrah, but one last kind of showing to put my mind at ease and know that Portugal wasn't the best that I had in me, just kind of get one more in there, get a good showing, try and get a good placing, and just hang up the end of the season feeling confident, for 2020 and going into this year,
Did you do another show after Tampa?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I've missed shows before and looked like a moron, but good, thanks. All right, so at that point, none of us knew what 2020 was gonna look like, or could have predicted any of this crap. But at the end of 2019, as you went into your off season, what were your plans for 2020?
Yeah, so originally the plan was to do Puerto Rico first, just kind of get my feet wet, and then we were going to do Toronto immediately after that.
Okay, yeah, I mean that would have been perfect win. Jeez.
Yeah, so that would have been nice. The goal was to get a win in Puerto Rico, get my Olympia qualification, take a bit of pressure off myself heading into Toronto, where Toronto really being a Canadian, like that's my New York pro,
Right.
when I've always really, really wanted to win. So to go in there with a little pressure on myself and try and snag another win there. And then that one's more of a meaningful win. It wouldn't be an Olympia qualification needed at that point. So,
yeah. Were you upset when the Toronto and Vancouver shows weren't postponed like a lot of other shows? They were out and out canceled?
yeah, I mean, obviously for everyone, with the show's season, how this has gone, it's a little upsetting. I understand with venues and these things, and especially pro shows versus amateur shows, it's a little tougher to do with having sponsors involved and all this kind of stuff for prize money. So I understand all the moving pieces that kind of need to be in order for a pro show to take place. So, I am understanding of the situation, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously upsetting nonetheless. I mean, like I said, Toronto was something that has always meant a lot for me. I mean, that was the first pro show I ever attended as an amateur. I won a provincial championship there. It was one of the first pro shows I did. I mean, there's a lot of history there for me. And, getting that win when I feel going into the season, I was definitely ready, no matter who showed up this year, that I was confident that I could secure a win there or at least be in the running for it. So, when it was canceled, it's definitely a little upsetting. But, I mean, there's at some point this year, hopefully there will be shows. And when there is, I'll be ready for them. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's not one show even on the schedule right now where it's 100% guaranteed an audience is going to be allowed anyway.
Yeah.
So, it might be like the Arnold. Were you at the Arnold?
I wasn't at the Arnold, no.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing because they allowed Friday for the judging, no audience. Finals, everyone they packed everyone in just like normal. Saturday they did not allow an audience. Saturday night they packed them in again. So we're gonna get the virus. You're gonna get it. They were still figuring that was the last weekend before all hell broke loose, I would say. But so let's get to the quarantine, the virus. So March is when everything shut down. That's when what's the normal gym that you go to typically?
I mean, I kind of jump between the two. So there's a chain gym here called Movati, which is like a nicer, like a premium health club kind of gym. They have pools and that kind of stuff, but they're really nice equipment, hammer strength and that kind of stuff, really good equipment. Then I'm sure you're familiar with the chain of gyms in Canada called Good Life.
Yes.
So there's in the city I live in, there's 20 Good Life. So, I mean, you have your pick of the litter of life. I mean, just in my end of the city, there's 5 or 4. So, I mean, there's, 4 or 5 within 15 minutes of me. So, and then at the other end of town, we have a gym called New Body Dimensions, which is like a privately owned, more like bodybuilder style gym. It's really the only one like that in Ottawa where I live. Yeah. So sometimes I'll make the trek out there. That's like a 35 minute drive for me. So I kind of just jump between the two, depending on what I'm training, if I'm going to train with someone or, I kind of jump between, I train with Joe Seaman, another Canadian bodybuilder sometimes. So we'll go out to Movati or New Body. If I'm training with Chris, we'll train at Good Life here in Canada or Movati. So we just kind of jump around. So
are they all still shut down right now?
Yes.
Wow. And
throughout Canada, no. In the province I live in, Ontario, yes. So in British Columbia on the West Coast, they've started to open some gyms. So I know like Ron Partlow's gym, West Coast Iron, they're open. And some of the gyms over there are open. And I know in Quebec, 1 or 2 gyms might be open. And I think they're starting to open in some of the middle provinces like Saskatchewan stuff. Some gyms there are opening under tight guidelines. But in Ontario, where I live, because we're in the same province as Toronto, and Toronto has the most amount of COVID cases, they're kind of doing, waiting for them to be lower. So I think they have been talking about starting to do more regional openings. So like starting to open some gyms in Ottawa, even though Toronto isn't 100%, because to close a Ontario is the size of half of the US. I mean, it's a gigantic province, it takes 3 days to drive across Ontario. It's not like a small little, it's not like a state, it's not like Indiana where it's like you can drive across it in four hours,
There's only, how many provinces are there?
12. We have like a bunch of provinces, and then like there's 3 or 4 territories, which are like the northern ones, like the Yukon, Nunavut, and those, which are the northerns. But yeah, it's like 12 or something. I can't remember the exact number, but I should know.
Well, you don't have a nice even number like 50. We got it easy here. But
it's like 12 or 13 if you count the territories and stuff like that.
Okay. So around you, are there any plans, like a phase, like saying maybe on June this or July this, we're going to open gyms? Have they decided anything yet?
Not really. I mean, there's been contingent dates like that where they're like, okay, June 10th or 15th, or and then the dates come, and then they say, okay, well, no, we're going to push it another 30 days. So that's the last thing that I heard from the Ontario government was that they were going to extend this phase that we're in now by another 30 days, which will kind of bring us to the end of June. So it's really based off that. I mean, if they start switching things, like I said, to do more regional openings, not just province-wide, then we might get some stuff open in Ottawa, because Ottawa really has almost no cases. I mean, we're a city of 1 million people. I think there's maybe 3 or 4 people in the hospital with it, and I think maybe only one of them is serious. So, I mean, our city almost has really nothing compared to Toronto or some of the other places. So to keep shut down because of a city that's 4 hours away is a little ridiculous at this point, especially for, small business owners and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, right now it's seeming like we're looking probably closer to July 1st. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I saw in another video you talked about your home gym that you built and everything, but I want a little bit of a timeline. So it was like right around middle of March for pretty much everybody, I think, where all the gyms shut down. Was that your situation?
Yeah.
Like mid-March?
Yeah.
Okay. So at what point did you say, this is probably going to last more than a week, I better start getting equipment, or did you already have some equipment at home?
Well, we were kind of lucky because I have a very close friend of mine lives just down the road from me. Like, I kind of live in like a rural community. And one of my friends lives just down the road, and he has a very nice home gym in his basement that he's built for his wife, because his wife doesn't like to go to public gyms. So she trains. They have a nice home gym built there, and they're just 200 yards down the road from me. So I knew he had some equipment, and then we have another friend. I don't know if you know, he's like a retired Canadian pro bodybuilder, Bob Weatherall.
Oh yeah, Bob. I remember Bob.
Yeah, so he lives in Ottawa as well, and he has like a super serious gym in his house. I mean, the entire ground floor and garage of his house is converted into a gym that has hack squats, leg press. I mean, everything you could think of for a leg training gym.
Huh? That's my dream home. Wow.
Yeah.
So
it's like a legit gym with like proper flooring, mirrors everywhere, lighting, and real equipment. It's very good. It's not a home gym; it's a real gym. But him and his wife, I think, train clients out of there majority of the day, when she's not doing her regular job. So yeah, they have a serious facility there. So we kind of I knew I had some things at my disposal. So when this first kind of kicked off, I was looking to get some equipment. And then my friend that lives down the street said we could train there if we wanted. So then what we did is we bought a bunch of equipment and then bolstered his gym. So we just got as much stuff as we could. We saw what he had. He had a Smith machine, some cable stuff, a few dumbbells. So we bought more plates. We got barbells. We got some heavier dumbbells, stuff like that. And then we just bolstered his gym. So that's what we've done. And we've just been training there the majority of days. And then for leg training days, we'll go over to Bob's house and train there, because he has like the serious leg equipment. So we go there for leg days, and all the other days we do just down the street here.
Okay, because in the other video I saw with you and Chris, it sounded like it was your house that you were training at.
It's a friend's house that's just down the road from me.
Okay, yeah. That's great, because I always say, like, the best pool is somebody else's pool, the best boat, somebody else's boat, the best gym, somebody else's home gym.
Yeah, it's good too, because like it is a very big home with a big unfinished basement. Like my entire basement here is finished, so it'd be a lot more of a pain trying to get everything down there and get it all set up. So it worked out well. So we just we bought about a couple over $1,000 worth of extra equipment to just add to his gym, and then we've kind of just been working on that. So it's worked well.
Yeah, $1,000. That's what people are getting for like a pair of dumbbells here at one point. So
well, we got it right off the hop. So we got 8 plates, then dumbbells. Well, he already had to 35. Then we got like 55, like up to 95, and then we got like just one random 125. So we got that, and we got the plates. We got some bars. We got another bench and all that, and we really didn't spend that much money. So
yeah,
but we found them like on Kijiji. I don't know if you guys have Kijiji there. It's like a Craigslisty kind of thing. Yeah. And some guy was like selling these brand new plates out of the box, out of like a storage unit, like some random storage unit. I don't know where these fell off a truck from, but the guy had an entire storage unit. I'm talking thousands of plates in there, brand new in the box, polyurethane plates. Yeah, beautiful plates. He had floor to ceiling an entire storage unit of every plate you could think of, and we're just like, okay. And he was selling them for cheap. So yeah, so we just stocked up what he had there for the bigger plates, and took everything, and we were on our way. So
man, if he had done that in the US, he could have been a billionaire.
Well, a week later, I saw the Kijiji ad that he had there, and the plates were all double the price. He was selling them for $3-4 a pound after that. But we got in early enough when things were kind of talking about shut down, but it wasn't like a big thing yet. So we got in early enough that the prices hadn't skyrocketed quite yet.
Yeah. So did you have any inkling of how long this was going to go on? Or you were just hoping maybe another week, maybe another month at the most, we'll have to train
I
him.
was like, maybe 2 months, 2-3 months, like maybe, I was thinking that by the Puerto Rico show, because I think at that time I was like 10 or 12 weeks out. I was thinking we probably would be good for Puerto Rico, hopefully. If not, definitely for Toronto. But I mean, obviously, as things went and they progressed pretty quickly, then I really had a more, understanding of the landscape and that it was going to take a little longer. So then we kind of really just hunkered down and said, this is it for the next while, right?
Yeah. Now, have you been in touch? I don't know how many other bodybuilders you're close friends with. Obviously your brother-in-law and your wife are pros, but have you been in touch with others? And how to generally? I'm just wondering, generally, how many of them had good setups and were doing fine with what they had, and how many of them were really panicked and struggling with very limited situations, very limited.
The ones that I talked to, it seemed like everyone was pretty well set up. I mean, there was a few that had like maybe like a 2 or 3 week period at the beginning where they didn't have anything, and then they figure out or found a buddy or found some small local gym that was like a few people in that were bodybuilding and stuff. But from everyone I've talked to, it seems to be everyone's pretty well set up. I mean, either guys were worked at gyms or had friends that worked at gyms. They were able to go in kind of after with the lights off kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or there was guys that had some people have like some, a lot of bodybuilders already have some pretty serious home setups. So, I mean, depending where they were. But yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to anyone that was an upper echelon guy that was like completely fucked,
Yeah. So Chris calls you the largest human being he's ever seen. What'd you get up to in the off season before you started coming down for Tampa?
I think the heaviest I was a 297 like morning weight.
Man. So that's like that's a cheat. You just needed like 1 or 2 good meals and you would be over 300 at that point, right? Yeah,
probably. But.
So your training, I say, like, I hate to put any divisions down, but if you look at the scale of divisions, bikini competitor needs probably the least amount of weight and the least equipment. They can make do with a lot of MacGyver type of crap, like a rubber band and a pencil. But someone like yourself, you need a good variety. You at least need a ton of heavy weight. Have you been able to train pretty much the way you want to be able to do what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've been able to do everything I've wanted to do except for obviously machine work. I mean, obviously if, you're doing a back day and you have at the gym, you got a million different angles of, fancy plate loaded hammer rows. Obviously I don't have that. Other than that, I mean, like I said, for the place where we train legs, I mean, I have a full leg training outfit there. I mean, we have leg press, hack squat, extensions, ham curls, Smith machines, a V squat, a hammer strength, Arsenal strength hip thrust, sissy squat. I mean, so we have everything there you could want for legs. So that's no problem. But yeah, I mean, when you're getting into obviously chest training or back training, stuff like that, I mean, we're just limited in the set that we have. Like we're not doing so we have a Smith machine. So if we're doing any pressing and stuff like shoulder pressing, flat pressing, incline pressing, it's all done in a Smith generally, unless we're going to use some dumbbells. But our dumbbell selection, like 95-pound dumbbells for me is obviously not very heavy to press, right? So
125s probably aren't that bad for you either.
No, but like I said, I only have 125, so I can do it for rowing and stuff like that. It's good. Yeah. For doing rowing stuff like that, and single arm dumbbell rows and stuff, it's great. But other than that, obviously, it's kind of useless. Right. But then we have a barbell and we have all the plates. So I mean, I could do my bent over rows and T-bar rows and deadlifts, and and with the cable setup, we still can do lat pull downs. We have cable rows. So I mean, we really can do basically everything other than just the fancy machine work.
But I've also saw there was one of Chris's videos where you were doing back and you had a lot of different cable setups where you were simulating things you would do on like a hammer strength anyway.
Yeah,
from it looked like
I mean,
throw up a bench and use that as a chest support.
Yeah, we can set the angles up, and if you wanted to do like a high row, because we do kind of have the lat pull down setup, we can put the bench on an angle, lay back. We can use a single handle, and we can kind of simulate the same angles and the same motions. So I mean, we try and get as creative as we can to kind of simulate those motions. But I mean, yeah, it's obviously some things are missed, but I mean, I think we're doing more than sufficient for what we have.
Sure, you're fine. So I want to talk about your new coach, Patrick Tour, from Switzerland. Cool guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times, and he's a very good friend of Giles, who's my associated MD. How did you start working with Patrick?
I mean, he's someone that I've followed and really, been, I guess the word would be intrigued with for a long time. I mean, he was someone like you don't see as much of like you do the North American coaches, like, you know, the Acetos and these guys. You see guys they work with all the time, and you kind of, you know, hear about how they work and their protocols and their diets, and you kind of know that, you know, the systems they work through. Patrick, I really knew nothing about, and there was this level of intrigue I kind of had. And then I did the Portugal show there, or I didn't talk to him or anything there, but he had a guy in the show, that Florian kid, who came fourth behind me in the Open. This was I think his second bodybuilding show ever.
Wow.
You know, yeah, I mean, I think he'd done one amateur show previously to qualify him for this pro qualifier. He did the pro qualifier, won the overall, and then stepped on the pro stage like 2 hours later and came fourth.
Wow.
And I mean, and to be completely fair, I 100% think you could have put him ahead of me and ahead of the kid that won, not ahead of Lucas. I mean, if I was judging the show, I probably would have had Lucas first, him second, me third, and the guy that won fourth. So, I mean, and that's being completely honest. I think he was better than me.
I trust your eye. I bet that's exactly the way it should have gone.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that day he was better than me. I mean, I'm a little bigger guy than him, but I think his conditioning was spot on. The guy has some of the craziest legs you've ever seen. You know, he was full as a house. I mean, he has some poses like his back and stuff that need to improve, but his just package of how he looked, I was super impressed with. You know, his presentation, the fact that he was just so new to it and had such poise in his presentation, and his look was so polished, you know, and it really I know a lot of that comes down to the athlete and genetics and stuff like that as well. But, you know, I saw Patrick was there with him, and it just like kind of, you know, piqued my intrigue even more. You know, and then after I did have kind of a bad showing there, and, you know, that season as a whole just hadn't gone super great with Matt. You know, I have nothing but great things to say about Matt Jansen. I mean, I love him. He's still a very close friend of mine. We still talk. I mean, there's no bad blood there whatsoever. It was just at a point where I think, you know, I needed a change and just to try something new. And I think it wasn't even, I think it was more from my own mind. I just needed to be like reignited a little bit, you know, someone that was new, that I was eager to impress, you know, and then just whether we did anything different from a coaching dietary protocol perspective was really irrelevant to me. It was, you know, it was more, I just needed like something fresh and new to kind of just like reinvigorate me a little bit, especially after that season that just felt like a little stagnant to me, you know?
Yeah. So when, you know, I'm sure Patrick went over everything that you've been doing, where were some areas that he immediately decided he was going to overhaul and make serious changes to?
I mean, there was nothing that was like super, super drastic changes right off the bat. I mean, it's kind of just been especially at first, you know, because I started working with him right after Portugal, and we were doing Tampa in 12 days. Oh, wow. So, I mean, I worked with him between Portugal and Tampa. So, I mean, we're obviously not going to do an overhaul, you know, in 12 days and try and reinvent the wheel when I'm already in shape. You know, at that point, it was really just, you know, fine tuning things, trying to get my condition. And we knew going into Tampa that there was guys like Luke there that were going to be big guys, but that I could definitely beat from a conditioning standpoint. So we, you know, and we tried to control the variables that what we could control. And because we were very new to working with each other, we didn't want to try and get too many things moving, you know? So it's, once we try and get too many things and you don't know each other super well, or how I work with carbs or these things, diuretics, whatever, it can get a little complicated. Yeah. So we knew the thing that was already in shape, we could just really control that and try and get me as hard as possible. And then maybe I could edge out some of these guys that might, by the end of the season, be not at 100% from a conditioning standpoint. And I could just come in razor sharp and edge them out, which is exactly what we did, right?
Yeah, right on. You did. So yeah. once the shows were over, and, you know, he barely had any time to do anything with you, really. Mm-hmm. So did you guys sit down after that and put out a game plan for what you wanted to improve on? Because he does get deep into the training too. He's not just nutrition and supplementation.
His SST training, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was obviously that. I mean, you know, I was coming from working with Matt, you know, and Matt and I, like, Matt never fully took over my training, like I think with a lot of guys. It was more like I followed the training system that he did, and that type of training, the more lower volume, high intensity stuff. I knew that's how he worked, and I kind of followed that system, but I kind of did my own thing from like an exercise selection and stuff like that, yeah. Which I've always done. And even with Patrick now, it's, you know, there's a lot of like a groundwork laid, but then I kind of have a freedom within it, you know? So that was the biggest thing. It was, you know, obviously a change of training for one. You know, that was definitely an aspect of it. But I mean, after that, once you get to this level, you know, like, the diets are the diets, you know. I mean, these guys we're all eating, you know, 6 to 10 ounces of protein a meal. I mean, you know, Patrick is definitely a lower protein guy. I'm sure if you've heard him talk in interviews, He's a much lower protein guy. Like, when I work with Matt or other coaches I've worked with in the past, I'd be eating more like 8, 10, 12 ounces of protein. Patrick is more of a very minimalist protein guy. Like, I'd be eating 6, maybe 7 ounces at absolute most of protein, but then way, way higher carbohydrates. So I'd be eating, 1,000 plus grams of carbs a day, but minimal protein. So,
so how did your body respond to that?
Very well. If you look at my off-season picture, it's definitely the best that I looked from an off-season. I felt the best. My digestion was good. My energy was good. My strength was good. I had no issues from a recovery or muscle building standpoint with the lower protein. So, I was definitely fulfilling those needs. And then after that, we just piled as much carbs in, which then also made a big difference when we started to come down for my shows this year. Because my body was so acclimated and kind of finely tuned to utilizing all these carbs. Like, even when I was dieting, we brought down to 400 grams of carbs a day. And I was like a runaway freight train. I was losing so much weight at 400 grams of carbs. We had to bring it back up to 800, So, right now I'm doing, basically we'll do, it ranges, but I'd say in a week of 7 days, I maybe only do 2 days to maybe 3 at absolute most where I'm eating 400 grams of carbs, and the rest of the days are 800 plus, and I'm still losing weight. So, for me to, and that's doing like almost no cardio too. I'm doing 30 minutes, like maybe 5 days a week. So,
wow. So, this is crazy when you think about it. This is a 300-pound bodybuilder training, super heavy trainer. Only the fact that you're able to not only retain, but build more tissue on 6 or 7 ounces of protein per meal. Does that make you kind of wonder if the rest of us aren't eating way more protein than we need to?
Yeah, it's tough. I know there's guys that eat crazy amounts of protein, lower carbs, and they look awesome too. It really depends. I was just seeing, Sean Smith recently was posting his diet, and he's the complete opposite. He's eating like 12, 16 ounces of protein a meal, but then he only eats like 200, 300 grams of carbs a day. So, he's a freaky, dense, crazy looking guy too. So, I don't know. There's a million ways to skin a cat. I think the biggest thing for me, where in the off season, when I'm eating a ton of protein, my digestion just gets so fucking bogged down, like trying to process all that meat all the time. And I think it allowed me to get in more calories as a whole without weighing my digestion down so much, So like the carbs were there at a higher rate than I would have been able to get in with the calories from the protein plus the carbs, So I was able to get in more food as a whole. So, I definitely think it helped in some aspect. I stayed in really good condition this offseason. I was at 295, 297 in very good condition. My strength and everything was better than it's ever been. So, it's hard to say. I could have done that off season eating high protein, lower carbs, and maybe it was just my body was at a place where it was responsive after that season and I was training hard. It's so hard to say at that point, but either way, it did work and I'm happy it worked. And, like I said, once we came to diet for the shows, my body responded like it had never before. So I think that is the biggest correlation, from how we conducted the off season and to translate into the contest season. I think that's probably the most important thing from it all.
Now Patrick's training system, was it called SST?
Yeah.
How is that? Is it very different from the way that you normally train? It looks like there's a lot of rest pause type of sets in there.
Yeah. A lot of different stuff like that, like cluster sets and different intensifying techniques and stuff like that. So, it's definitely a little more different than in a lot higher volume than I was training previously doing, like more, I hate saying like the Dorian Yates style training, but that more like high intensity, like, one max set with a back off set, maybe utilizing some, or like the DC training, stuff like that, like dog crap or, that more style of training. So, obviously a lot more volume, for sure. And just a lot different, intensity techniques involved in there. So, I think for me, whether it was more effective or not is hard to say, but I think the change was definitely needed, and just the change of training, definitely my body responded to well.
Right on. And you're still training, your training partner is your brother-in-law, Chris Bumstead, right?
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
Still okay. I didn't know if you dumped him and picked up another training partner. But
no, because where we train now is one of my buddy's house. It's kind of like we just go at the same time, right? Like we also don't want to be invading this guy's house like all hours of the day, so we make sure that we go at the same time. And it's good too because he has a bungalow with an entrance that goes directly to the basement, so we don't need to like go in his house. So it actually works out really, really well. But yeah, no, we just try and coordinate so that we're always together and we go at the same time, and then we're just kind of in and out.
Is there a bathroom down there, or do you have to go up in the house to go to the bathroom?
That one, there's no bathroom. No, it's you got to go upstairs. So but I live, like I said, I live right down the street, so we always make sure we take a piss right before we leave. So we're usually good. But Chris and his kidneys, he doesn't make it through a full workout without having to take a piss usually. So sometimes he's running upstairs, but no, I mean, for the most part, we're usually pretty good.
Wait till you're my age, Ian. Whoo, you'll be peeing all the damn time. It's called BPH, benign prostate hypertrophy. Anyway, so when did you decide? Why did you decide on Tampa? Was it because it was the last show that you did? You want to come back at that, or was it just because it was the first show after this? Theoretically, the first show after the quarantine.
Yeah, it was the first one. I was already, I was in pretty decent shape when we, the Toronto, Puerto Rico plans kind of got put on hold. So, we want to get in something as soon as possible, really. Yeah. So Tampa, I mean, and at least if I get my foot in the door in Tampa, then I'm not missing any shows. So I can do Tampa. If I don't win Tampa, I can do New York. If I don't win New York, I mean, I just don't want to miss any opportunities, so. I'll show up at Tampa, and I mean, I really enjoyed that show too. I mean, they put on an awesome show there in Tampa. I mean, you were there last year, right?
Oh yeah, I've been there. I had never been to Tim Gardner's shows before 2017, and I've the Chicago show that he does, Tampa.
Incredible.
He does an amazing job. Him and his whole crew.
I heard this because Melissa won Tampa Pro in 2018, right?
Okay, yeah.
But I wasn't there with her. I was in Spain doing the Spain show that weekend. So, she was in LA that weekend. By the way, I wasn't there for the show. But she had told me after doing that show, she's like, you have to do the show some year. It's the best show I've ever been. And when you're not there, you're always just like, yeah, whatever. Like, it's like, she probably just had a better time because I wasn't there fucking bugging her ass, but no, I mean, she spoke, really good words about the show and about how Tim ran the show and, just how they treated the athletes and, how the whole setup at the venue and everything was really close and close to the airport and everything was just super convenient. So when I did it last year, I really saw that. I mean, I loved the show. Everything was awesome with it. So, I was definitely happy to go back there if I get that opportunity. And then, it was just the first show of the season. So, I want to get in something as soon as possible.
I saw all the trophies. You had swords, axes, crowns. What did you get for third place?
I just got a medal for third. I think I didn't get a sword. I think Dexter got a sword and that was it. Yeah. But Melissa's got a nice sword here. She's got a Tampa sword. Yeah. She's got a sword. Yeah.
And backstage, there was pizza, there was cookies,
everything,
donuts. Oof, dude, yeah. He does put on. But what is the travel situation? Who's not letting? Is it Canada's not letting people from the U.S. in, vice versa, or is nobody letting anybody into their country now?
I think Canada is the one calling the shots on that right now. I think U.S. would probably let things go back and forth. Right now, I think how it is it's just only essential travel. So if you need to travel for business on a B1 or anything like that, I think you're allowed to go back and forth. But if it's just non-essential travel, obviously for if you want to go shopping in Syracuse or whatever it is, here, obviously that kind of shit's not allowed. So yeah, right now it's just kind of pending once they open that. So I've heard different dates on that, but I mean, like I said, with everything else, it just kind of keeps getting pushed and pushed. So, I'm just waiting. I'm hoping that in the next 8 to 9 weeks that that's all cleared up. But on the flip side, maybe I can apply for, a visa because this is my profession, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you just do that? That sounds like
if I get a B1, which is a temporary work visa of some sort, there's a chance I could get across on that because this is like my career, my livelihood, and I'm trying to make money, obviously, to feed myself. So yeah, that's definitely a possibility that I'll cross that road when it comes. If we get to like 3-4 weeks out and it still doesn't look like there's any sign of them opening, then I'll kind of pursue that avenue. But until then, we're just hoping that at least I can get through by then. I mean, even if there's no flights or something and driving, I mean, I can drive my ass to Florida. That's not that bad,
Oof, no.
It's like 14 hours, I think.
Oh my goodness, that's too far, dude. That's too far. But I was just saying, if Hadi Choopan was able to get into the U.S. from an enemy of the state country like Iran, I think you're going to be okay. But yeah, the visa thing, that seems like a very, very good way to do it.
Because I'd seen a lot of bodybuilders saying this and not wanting to do shows or prep for shows because they were afraid that the borders would be open. And then I had someone DM me that was saying that they had a spouse that worked in border services that had said that this was a possibility that you could do with getting a visa because they still are allowing essential travel for certain types of business. So they said if you applied for the B1, that there's definitely a possibility if this is like, pertinent to your business and your career. So, if I can make that argument and try and get it done, we'll see. Maybe this person's talking out their ass. I don't know, but it makes sense. I mean, so we'll definitely try and pursue that if need be.
Yeah, so here's one thing I'm wondering. Let's get your 2 cents on it, because a lot of bodybuilders weren't able to train to the way they wanted to for whatever reason, and I'm sure some of them were out of money for business. They owned businesses that were shut down. Or I'm wondering how's that going to impact the lineup situation, because I think last year Tim had, I think he broke the record last year. There was 304 pros or something in Tampa.
Just there was over 20 of us for sure.
So I'm wondering, do you think it's going to affect the number of competitors, or do you think people are going to still come out because they've been waiting and waiting to compete?
Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, I think the people that are really like at that level are making it work. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's going to be people that there's going to be financial hardships and stuff like that. But I mean, most of the guys, I think, if they were intending to compete at that point, they're still going to try and pursue that avenue to its fullest. So, I think the turnout could still potentially be good. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people that are just, like I said, not even going to start prepping because they're like, I don't want to start getting down this and then the show be canceled and I'm all the way there and I've spent all this money on prep and, all this stuff. So I understand from both sides. Obviously, there's going to be less people than like a year like last year, 2018, when Melissa did it. I mean, there was 52 girls in figure the year she did it. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously there's not going to be 52 figure girls in the show. But do I think you could still have a decent outcome? Probably still, yes. But I think so, especially for that first show, because I think there's going to be a lot of people chomping at the bit,
Oh, yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that have been, kind of had started prepping for shows earlier in the year and that have just kind of been, like the Hunter Labradas, he was playing in New York and they're just like, someone like that, he's going to ride this out until there's a show. If it's not till December, he'll be there and he'll be ready, just like I will. So, I mean, I know there's guys like that. And I mean, we also know for a girl doing bikini to hold that look for an entire year ain't that bad,
No.
So, I mean, that's a little different. I mean, they're not taking serious amount of, chemicals or anything like that to hold that look. I mean, for them to get in that shape and maintain it for 6-7 months isn't that dramatic. So, I think that the class that would definitely be affected the most would be bodybuilding. But I think as a whole, you could still probably have a decent turnout. Yeah.
I mean, the people who I have the most, I felt the worst for so far in 2020, as far as bodybuilders, are the guys that were going to do the Arnold Classic Australia.
Yeah.
Because they didn't find out until like 4 or 5 days away from the show. Don't get on that plane.
Joe was already there.
Yeah, well, I think he just got home the other day. He's been there this whole time.
Yeah. So I mean, he didn't have it too bad. He was enjoying Australia for the last 3 months. He can deal with it. Yeah.
But could you imagine you compete around 265, 270, something like that? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of effort to get that finished product on stage. Can you imagine going through all that at the very last minute? Oh, you know what, Iain, I'm sorry, we had to cancel the show. Oh,
no, I know. I mean, like I know Nathan, like Dash was planning to do it. And I mean, he had already had so many issues with visas and this kind of stuff. And then when he finally got the ball rolling for Australia, I mean, you sure must have been super excited. And then, 2 days before he's about to fly, it's like, sorry, dude. It's like, fuck, man,
Stay home.
That's tough. And I mean, I definitely empathize with those people for sure. I mean, that's, a shitty situation to be in. But I mean, the whole world's in a shitty situation. I think the whole things, I mean, bodybuilders were doing okay. So it just kind of is what it is, right?
Was it you in the video? Or a lot of people have said, bodybuilders, you need to shut the hell up, You don't have it that bad, really. I mean, I
understand. Look, if you're a bodybuilder and you own a gym and your gym is you're losing your business or something like that. I mean, but let's be serious. For a lot of guys here, a lot of us get paid to post on Instagram and, endorse a company. And this has really not affected you in a major way. I mean, if you're doing online based clients, sure, you might have lost a few because they're going to hang it up because they can't train. But I mean, for the most part, you're going to retain most of your clients. You're still getting paid from your sponsor, hopefully, unless they've gone under somehow. But I mean, I'm assuming most supplement companies haven't gone under in 4 or 5 months. But, so for the most part, I mean, someone like Chris or I, we're still getting paid our contract salary. I still have my online clients. I mean, it's not that bad, Like I understand, for a lot of people, the gym is their livelihood, and for mental health and a lot of things. I mean, I know it is a huge aspect of their life, and that kind of stuff. So I know it can be detrimental not having that, but I mean, it could be way fucking worse, I mean, like I said, if you own a gym, you own a business, something like that, I mean, you're losing something you've worked for 10, 15, 20 years. I mean, that really fucking sucks, but not being able to do a show or, not being able to train is not nearly as bad in my mind,
Yeah. In the grand scheme, let's go in a positive direction. So, as you went into into the off season toward the end of last year, what were some things that you really wanted to improve on, and what have you improved on? What were you able to successfully improve on since last year in Tampa?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me, it's always been an ongoing process, is one, improving my depth in my chest, especially my front double. When I get really, really lean, controlling fullness is a very difficult thing for me. And when I get even a touch on the flat side, my chest, especially like when I lift my arms up and do a front double, is like almost non-existent, which I'm sure you've seen like Tampa, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was a big thing, just getting more 3D, more depth in my chest. And then the other thing was just improving my lat width, my front double, my front lat, stuff like that, which I've definitely made big improvements from. I mean, my front lat now, I mean, that's what I post as most of my shots on Instagram is front lat. It's become one of my best poses now,
Yeah.
So my chest thickness has definitely improved in that shot. My lat thickness has improved a lot. Is there still room to grow in my chest and stuff like that? Absolutely. I mean, this is bodybuilding. It's always an ongoing process that I can continue to improve. But do I think I'm going in the right direction? And when I compare my shots, at this time at 8-9 weeks out compared to last year, I can definitely see the improvements in the areas that I was intending to see. But
cool. So you're very excited, even though with all this madness going on, you're very excited to show these improvements, I'm sure.
For sure. I mean, obviously, despite how much equipment you have at your disposal, training for a pro bodybuilding show, training in basement gyms feels fucking weird. It's like, you feel like you need to be in like the atmosphere of a real gym, like a real professional bodybuilder. And it does have kind of like a weird, like incomplete feeling to it. I don't really know how to describe it more than that. Yeah. But I mean, I think I'm doing more than sufficient, but there's always that little thing in the back of your head, like, if I had the gym and I could be doing this versus you always think you could be 2% better, 3% better by having the entire prep in the gym. Right. That's not like an excuse. I mean, I still think I could look excellent for a show and be better than I was last year, but you always have that like inkling in the back of your mind, like, what if I'd had this? What if I'd done this? Yeah. So, but I mean, what I have at my disposal, I'm training as hard as I can. I'm getting all my meals in. I'm doing my cardio. I mean, so I'm doing absolutely 100% what I can with what I have at my disposal. So, I mean, that's all you can do at this point, right? So,
because if you really think about it, even though, like you said, I bet almost every pro is training at some very well-equipped place.
Yeah.
But very few of them are training where they want to be training, where they were used to training, and had 50 different back machines and 30 different leg presses and all that.
So the majority of us are in the same boat here. I mean,
everyone's just making do with a little bit less than what they would ideally want to have.
It's honestly kind of like a good learning experience and like kind of bringing yourself back to the roots of the shit that you've kind of neglected over the years. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit, I mean, there's times when you have a million back machines at your disposal that you'll be like, I don't need to do fucking barbell deadlifts, like, I don't need to do this, I don't, like, it's like, you have all these fancy machines at your disposal. It's easy to get away from like the meat and potatoes, So kind of having this force you back into it is honestly been kind of nice, getting back into just doing the, your bent over rows, your T-bar rows, your deadlifts. I mean, those kind of things, just getting back to that, especially for me where, my back is something I definitely need to improve on. I think getting away from like having those fancy machines at my disposal was honestly was a positive thing in a lot of ways. So, and I just hope that I can carry that mentality on once the gyms open back up,
Yeah, I actually have said this a few times. I bet a lot of people thought they were going to lose muscle during this quarantine because, and all I got is some barbells and dumbbells. And these are people that got away from the basics, like you said, and have been doing, I'm sure there's a ton of people that do 90% machines every time they go to the gym.
Well, I mean, think of doing a leg day. I mean, guys go in, they do a quad extension, they do a ham curl, they do a leg press, they do these things, and now you just have a barbell. It's like, okay, now you got a back squat, you got a straight leg deadlift, you got to do lunges. I mean, the things that suck and the hard things, but are definitely very effective. So, I mean, I think for a lot of people, it's kind of forced them back into doing those, which I think is an excellent thing for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's cool. Well, man, I've taken up a lot of your time. I can't wait to see you on stage again. I can't wait to see anybody on stage again.
I know. Just anything. Just stage. I just want to stage. Yeah.
I'll never complain about having to go to too many contests again, God. I swear. I never went to that many anyway. But man, it's gonna be very exciting to see you and Hunter and all the guys that have been working hard through this quarantine, because I know, this is the true mark of a pro. Can anybody, not to say it's still not hard work, with everything falling in line the way you want it to perfectly every day, with your food, your gym that you like. But everyone having to sort of make accommodations and adjustments. It'll be interesting to see, how good you guys really look. And obviously we can see it on Instagram right now anyway. It's not like it's going to be a total surprise. Oh my God, he's still big. But it's cool. This shows you how well you guys have been able to adapt to the situation. And I think it's going to be a whole other level of inspiration when we see, well, Iain looks better than he's ever looked, even though he was training in his buddy's freaking basement for the past 5 months.
No, it's going to be cool for sure. So I'm very excited. And like you said, I'm just excited to see everybody else as well. I mean, I'm just excited to watch bodybuilding again, even if I wasn't competing in the show. I'm just, I'm excited to see, like you said, I'm excited to see what Hunter looks like. I'm excited to see what these guys look like. So, just as a bodybuilding fan as a whole, see these guys that have still been training and making it work and just kind of see, how this all plays out is just exciting either way. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, Iain, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks for taking the time, and wish you the best of luck with the prep. I know you're in great hands with Patrick.
Yeah.
So much respect for that guy. I've seen how he is with his clients, and he's just very, very dedicated, very detail-oriented coach. So I'm curious to see what you guys can put together for this season this year. Yeah. So that's it, man. Thank you. Thanks for the time. Thanks for the interview. Thanks everyone for watching. Ronline Report with this man, Iain Valliere, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.